All right, here's the story about the previous Supergirl, Sasha Calle, the DCEU Supergirl, who was one and done thanks to The Flash and I'm sure other factors. But here, apparently, she's in The Rip, which is the Matt Damon, Ben Affleck movie currently on Netflix. So Sasha Calle has spoken about The Flash, largely in terms of what the role contributed to her career. She has emphasized her appreciation for the opportunity, noting that the project allowed her to take on a high-profile character and gain experience on a major studio production. Yeah, I believe she was like a soap opera actress before this, mostly, something like that. Anyway, while broader debates about the film continue online, Calle kept her comments focused on the professional growth the role provided. Calle said via Yahoo Lifestyle Australia, she is utterly grateful for what playing Supergirl did for her career, noting that the role led to new opportunities and opened doors that led her to collaborate with Matt Damon and Flash co-star Ben Affleck, whom she met briefly just once on the set. They bumped into each other in the chair and makeup department, an encounter Calle humorously calls their meet cute. She stars alongside the duo in The Rip, now streaming on Netflix. They're beautiful people, Calle adds. Aside from being absolute legends, they're just so kind, so loving, and they're just very human. They lead with grace and kindness, and Matt being our number one in this movie with a beautiful leader, and Ben is just a curious man who touches every camera and allows you to explore. The Flash did poorly, and the box office numbers were bad enough to end careers. However, its biggest stumbling block was Ezra Miller and all his legal issues, which dominated the news cycle. Any production would buckle under the weight of that level of scandal falling upon it. Fortunately for Calle, she managed to dodge the fallout and can look back fondly. That said, her casting as a Latina Supergirl and her acknowledgement of how meaningful that representation was for her drew plenty of attention. She's also been honest about how tough it was when the DC reboot moved on without her. She was supposed to be Kara Zor-El in the DCEU from then on. It may have ended up side by side with Henry Cavill in Man of Steel 2. Now that I was actually interested in seeing. There was supposed to be an end-credit scene with her and Cavill in the Flash movie, but James Gunn nixed that to put George Clooney instead. The rest is history. But a Man of Steel movie, I mean, it almost writes itself. You introduce her following Zack Snyder's Justice League. Lois and Superman are together, married. She's had his baby. And then you've got a ready-made babysitter right there with Supergirl. And then Brainiac attacks. And Superman's dealing with, what the hell is this? And then Supergirl's there. Oh, God, it's Brainiac. And she can tell him the whole story because she was around on Krypton when Brainiac stole the bottled city. Or, well, he bottled the city of Kandor. You know, that whole story. And it would be a good bridge into the other Justice League films of the threat of Darkseid, where Brainiac comes to the Earth because he goes to doomed worlds to take one of their cities. Because he knew Krypton was a doomed planet. So that's why he went there to steal Kandor. So. But it didn't happen. So, however, despite the potential and desire for a Cavill return, not many were interested in the diverse tomboy version of Kara. That wasn't a deciding factor on whether or not Man of Steel 2 got made with her in it. The DCU and the upcoming Supergirl film this year should have been a clean slate, but DC Studios head James Gunn proved he only knows one way of doing things: the Guardians of the Galaxy way. Regardless of how much better Millie Alcock looks in the part, I mean, I don't know, Sasha, you could dye her hair blonde. I don't know. I mean, anyway, Supergirl looks like more of the same, and like it was shot on the same sets. And probably, well, no, that would be Disney sets. All right, they shot in a volume room green screen, you know, or in front of the same green screen, yeah, as the nowhere locations and Guardians and the next DCU installment will be, yeah, whatever, yeah. yeah, that's the deal. Would Sasha have gotten her own Supergirl film eventually? Well, it depends on how successful the movies would have been going forward. But unfortunately, The Flash wasn't. So that's that. But yeah, something like that could. I mean, I don't know. She could kind of pass as related to Cavill. You know? Anyway, she's got a good attitude about it, and again with Cavill, he's got this very professional approach to interviews and whatnot. He doesn't dump dirty laundry on the floor and all that sort of stuff. Doesn't lash out. Keeps it all very, very professional. And it looks like Sasha's of the same mindset. So she's grateful for the opportunity and all that sort of stuff. But life goes on, and hopefully things work out for her. Apologies for my voice. I'm under the weather. So, the new Supergirl spot reveals more of Jason Momoa's Lobo. See? That's Jason Momoa. The news TV spot for Supergirls has dropped, giving fans a better look at Jason Momoa's Lobo, this time with more screen time, clearer lighting, and a more brutal attitude. The footage builds on the teaser's earlier glimpses, showing Momoa with glowing eyes and silver teeth, and riding his signature space bike through a grimy neon-lit alien underworld. A promo poster has also been released featuring DC's main man. While Lobo isn't the film's main villain, the new shots make it clear he'll be a standout presence. Yeah, they're banking everything on him at this point. Momoa looks fully committed to the role. Yeah, he's been wanting to do it for years. Chewing scenery with a grin and showcasing the violent swagger the character is known for. This is the clearest footage of his full costume, biker armor, and over-the-top attitude, and it leads hard into the comic book depiction. There you go. See? He looks like, Lobo. Anyway, Supergirl comes along, and they're really going to hype that Lobo's in it, even though he's probably only in it for a couple of minutes of footage. There was some rumors they did some reshoots to get more of him in it. But it's not his movie, so I don't think that's enough to save the DCU. But, I mean, even if the DCU collapsed, they could still do a Lobo movie in whatever DC franchise they develop afterwards. It doesn't really matter. Because it's obvious, Aquaman was not really the character. He did all right for what it was, but this character is tailor-made for Jason Momoa.